I'm Roberta Ryan. I'm the Director of the University of Technology Sydney Institute for Public Policy and Governance, and I'm also the Director of the Australian Centre of Excellence for Local Government. And we really have a big research and applied research profile and set of activities working with local government, both in Australia and internationally. And I thought I'd spend just a few minutes sharing some of the outcomes of our work with you. So the Institute of Public Policy and Governance, we do three main things. What we do is we work directly with local governments to assist them to build their capacity in undertaking the kind of work that they need to do. So we do applied work as well as research, and we also do sector influencing work. So we do work with other levels of government to enable local government to be understood as part of the intergovernmental system. And we do that work across Australia in different jurisdictions as well as internationally. We have a postgraduate teaching program, a Master of Local Government program, as well as a PhD program, and an academic research program as well. So let me tell you something a little bit about our research. And we did a particularly, I think, important piece of research called Why Local Government Matters. Now, this piece of research was something that I'd worked in other policy areas besides local government, and what we found was that community views are really ahead of government views with respect to some policy areas. And in Australia, that was particularly with respect to the protection of the environment and in areas of the arts policy and in disability policy. And what we wanted to do with the research called Why Local Government Matters was to really understand what it is about what the community values about local government, how they understand the role of local government, what they expect from local government, and use this research to demonstrate to other levels of government the significance that local government has in the intergovernmental relations system. And it's very important, not just because local government is a significant workforce and does a very important role in delivering services locally, but local government is very misunderstood by other levels of government, but it's not so misunderstood by the community, and that was an interesting thing that we found in our research. So what we did was we did a national telephone survey. We sampled the research according to the different categories of local government in Australia. So we got large metropolitan councils, smaller regional councils, rural councils and so on. And we made sure that we had statistically significant results across all of those different kinds of local government areas. And we also did some qualitative work around Australia where we did a bunch of focus groups so that we could understand a bit more about what those findings told us. So when we were thinking about the research, we started with the proposition that local governments have a very significant role in shaping places. So local government as a place shaper. So local governments in Australia really strongly determine the outcomes of what a place is like to live. So when we started the research, we started by asking people, what matters to you about the place that you live? Why do you live where you do? Is it because you can get work? Is it because of housing costs? What is it that you value about the amenity of the area that you live in? Is it an area with good services and so on? So we started with the idea that local government was very important in delivering places and shaping places. And then what we did was we also knew that local governments were important in terms of being the closest level of government to the people. And so we asked a lot of questions about how do people want to be engaged with decision making locally, and what is it about local government that enables them to engage directly in driving citizen outcomes at the local level. The third area that we were interested in, of course, was local government as a service provider. So we thought of local government in terms of it being a place shaper, determining the importance of and shaping outcomes in terms of where people live. We think of local government as being the closest level of government to the people, and we also think of local government, of course, as having a very important role in delivering local services. So when we asked people across Australia a whole list of questions around what is it that they think that's important about where they live locally and what role should local government have in shaping where they live, what was really interesting about the results was the thing that came out most strongly was we listed all the kinds of services that local government can do in terms of economic development, in terms of waste collection, local sanitation services, environmental prevention. In the human services area, we listed all of the potential things that local government might do. And out of those results, more than 80% of people said it was either extremely important or very important that local government has a role in planning for the future of where they live. So out of all of the things that local government does, being closest to the people, being a service delivery organisation, what was interesting about that finding was that if you ask communities what's important about local government, they tell you that it's about local government's role in understanding their needs locally and working with other levels of government to plan for the future. Related to that, people also told us that what they wanted from local government was to promote the benefits of their local community to other levels of government and to other local governments. So it's the idea that local government has a role that's beyond service delivery. It's about promoting and advocating for the needs of their local communities. But what this research about why local government matters has shown us is that the most important thing that local governments do is to advocate for the needs of their local community. So there were those three questions, and I've got them here on the slides for you to look at, that says more than 80 or 90% of people agreed or strongly agreed that the most important thing, more important than providing services, is advocating for the needs of the local community to other levels of government. So I think that puts into interesting perspective for us a discussion about, well, what do we really understand the role of local government to be? And communities are telling us something about what they want from the role of local government that's beyond the traditional ways of thinking about local government in terms of a service delivery organisation or in terms of the local democracy dimension. So that's the first part of the presentation that I was going to talk with you about. The other thing that came out of our research was, and I don't think there's any surprises here, but it's just worth showing you, thinking about the area in which you live, which level of government is best able to make decisions about your local area. And you can see from this slide that 75% of respondents said overwhelmingly local government was the best level of government to make decisions about our local area. So again, it goes to that question about the role of local government as advocating for the needs of the local community. The other thing we asked, there was a lot of questions in this survey, and you might want to look at our website, and I'll make sure that those details are available at the end of the slide pack. But we asked a whole series of questions about service delivery. What do communities value about local government and service delivery? And again, the findings I think were quite surprising in this area. What we found was that local government, the role of government, and particularly the role of local government, is in contributing to a fairer and healthy society. So when we asked the question about what should be the important criteria for service delivery at the local level, we got a very strong message that efficiency, while that's important, and thinking about doing things in the way that the private sector does is also important. There was a very strong response in the survey to indicate that the community is looking for governments to make sure that services are delivered in fair and equitable ways, and understanding the role of government with respect to contributing to equity outcomes at the local level. So in terms of should services be primarily delivered in terms of value for money, when you look at this slide, it's a very mixed picture. About 50% of people think that value for money is an important criteria when it comes to service delivery, but another 50% of people, or about the other half, think that services should be delivered for other reasons, not just value for money, but for considerations around equity, distribution and fairness. So as I said before, there's a bank of questions around how should services be delivered at the local level, and efficiency and value for money are not the primary criteria in terms of how the community values these things. Nor do the community think that the private sector necessarily delivers the best value services. So in our research, well over 50% of people, 60% of people on this slide, disagreed that the private sector delivers the best value services. So in other words, people are strongly supportive of governments, and local governments in particular, delivering services because they take into account issues to do with equity, distribution and fairness. So they're very significant findings, I think, in terms of us taking a moment to reconsider the role of local government in terms of contributing to fairness and equity in the communities in which we live, that service provision is not just driven by private sector considerations in terms of cost and efficiency, but considerations around distribution, fairness, and that communities trust and respect governments to do this were very important findings. So there's a whole lot more data in our research around why local government matters. It's the only survey of its kind that's been done in the world that really drills into what communities want and understand about local government and their role. And I've only had time in this discussion with you to point out a few of those findings, but all of this information is available on our website. I'm very pleased to have had the opportunity to share some of the work that we do. We have a lot of research, handbooks, guides to assist local governments do their work. Please visit our website, it's on this next slide. Please be in touch at any time if you're interested in talking about the work that we do. All the very best. Bye-bye.